ships lag Stellaris, and the devs know that. So there's potential changes they've been experimenting with that they're going to detail with us. These changes could be extremely significant, shaking up the meta and the way we view ships entirely. Let's get into it. Ship experiments. Now there's also the patch notes, but we covered most of them in the last update. I believe there's a few extra bug fixes. They're currently continuing post-release support with a 4.1.6 version, which will hopefully be released as an open beta before the weekend. I wonder what changes will be in that. Today, we're going over the basic idea behind the tiered ship design that I've currently been experimenting with internally. Please note there is no guarantee that this will pan out or even make it to an open beta or live. It's still very much in an experimental state. So as you know, Paradox does like to experiment with Stellaris ideas. If they pass the internal tests, they usually go to a beta, then we test it and see how it goes, and then it will eventually be live. So this is firmly in the internal testing. This could die here, or this could be seen in it whenever it's released. We'll see. Advanced Ship Hull Experiment. The premise of the Advanced Ship Hull Experiment is to reduce the number of ships present in the mid to late game. By doing so, making individual ships, especially capital ships, more effective and important. It also gives us an opportunity to reduce the late game effectiveness of bypass meta disruptors while still retaining a role from them. A lot to break down in that one paragraph. From what we saw last week, ships are pretty much the main cause of lag, especially as the game goes on, because of power creep, because the AI is better at making ships and the 4.0 changes, and essentially pops don't really like the game as much anymore. Ships are the main culprit, which I've been saying for a very long time, as we can build so many of them now. This will hopefully reduce them and we'll have less of them, but it also makes building these big ships feel more important, and if you lose a fleet, it feels a lot worse, but if you beat someone else's fleet, it feels very good. So it's a lot better risk reward, makes the player feel better, it gives you attachment to those ships. I like it a lot. And also, yes, it will combat bypass meta, as we'll see as we go on. There'll be some hardening added to these advanced hulls, and bypass is just very good because you don't have to hit shield or armor, which means you have to do less damage to kill something, as they only have to lose all their hull to die, not shield, armor, then hull. The first prototype intentionally goes a bit over the top on some numbers to make the end result more apparent. Future iterations would naturally need to be rebalanced as we make adjustment to economic balance and pacing. Interesting, a hint at probably an economic balance to lowering the power creep, which would also probably help with lag. In Heartsfire 4, as technology progresses, you can gain access to more effective hulls for your various vehicles. These later hulls are significantly more effective than earlier variants, but you cannot upgrade directly from one to another. At some point, these antiquated vessels will eventually become outclassed and obsolete, and you're better off scrapping them than maintaining them. This restructuring can be done gradually or as a major pivot point, which is also reflected in Victoria 3 when you move from wooden ships to ironclads. As you can see here with the tech tree for Hearts of Iron, and you have the 1922 ship, which can then go into the 1936, 1940, 1944, and this is not a Stellaris screenshot. So interesting, a lot of that's talking about not being able to upgrade from one to another. For my initial prototype of the experiment, I've kept the same design philosophy, so that means you can't upgrade to a lower type to a higher type. For simplicity, I've just called the upgraded hulls a Mark II and Mark III, though that may change. Currently, I've tied their unlocks to existing technologies. The improved ship size hull techs, which no longer provide other bonuses and are now available one technology tier above the original ship technology. The Mark II hulls and 2 tiers after that to a maximum of 5 for the Mark III hull. So corvettes are currently available at tier 1, Mark II tier 2, Mark III tier 4. Those techs give 10% hull, I believe, so they won't no longer give hull, but they would give you the upgraded Mark versions of them, which is actually quite cool. In this first iteration, Mark II hulls take twice as much naval capacity, leaving their command limit usage unchanged, have a multiplicative damage bonus, have triple hull, 25 inherent armor and shield hardening, some minor evasion boosts, but have 4 times the base alloy cost and upkeep. Okay, interesting. So it's going to take 2 naval capacity, but you get better damage bonuses, triple the hull, and inherent quarter armor and shield hardening and evasion boost. So I think that's pretty worth it, even though it's 4 times the upkeep and cost. My only initial reaction with these Mark hulls, before we get into more, is sometimes it is better to just swarm your opponent. So there might be a meta where you only make Mark 1s because you can just have more of them and they can't kill all your stuff if they have lots of big battleships. But that adds to the combat meta, I guess. Mark III hull once again takes twice as much naval capacity, so it'll go from 2 to 4, and deal twice as much damage as the Mark II hulls, and so on. Also getting an extra auxiliary slot in their sternmost ship section. Oh, that's quite good, because another afterburner. No, okay. I do like these changes, because it's not just the same thing, but more stats. They're inherently changing how they work with the hardening, multiplicative damage, and auxiliary slot at Mark III. I somehow missed a whole paragraph, which I've only just realized while editing this video, so I'll cover that quickly. We're currently restricting high-tier reactors and computers from lower quality hulls. Currently, the basic hulls can only support tier 3 reactors and computers, and the Mark II hulls can go up to tier 4. We've discussed whether this should be a simple across-the-board restriction rather than being solely tied to reactors and computers, in which case the Mark II hulls would likely be able to accept tier 5 components, and exceptional tier 6 technologies like those from Fallen Empires would require Mark III. All of this could also have hooks to various civics or ascension perks, of course, but our first pass we're minimizing these additional complications. As we'll see, and I'll probably question it because I missed that paragraph, there are limits, but this could change. And I do like the idea of limiting stuff to civics. Maybe some civics or origins could have stronger, smaller ships, but that would then make more lag, so we'll have to see. Anyway, back to past me. We then have Big Table. So you can see all the tech tiers. Frigates have an asterisk next to them as they're currently unlocked by a combination of both the Corvette improved hull plus torpedo technology lines, and now have an inherent plus 25%, plus 50%, or plus 100% explosive weapon damage. Wow, that's strong for frigates. They all get an extra auxiliary slot at tier 3. Modders can go crazy with this, by the way. This fact there's options for special slots can go crazy. You can really bake later game Corvettes or whatever your game-changing mod does have extra slots without having to change the ship type. Everything stays the same with command limit usage, which is really nice because it's the same for bioships when they grow up, which interestingly, this is kind of similar how bioships have extra Mark versions. So I'm going to wonder how they do bioships because they kind of already have this as they use more naval capacity but take less command limit, but they're stronger as they go up. Anyway, damage multipliers are exactly the same for all with 1 to 4. 4 times. That's insane. Bigger ships are just going to suck though, aren't they? Because the multiplier, well, this is not multiplicative damage against the strength. Hull goes crazy. It's 9 times from Mark 1 Corvette to Mark 3. I mean, it's the same for all of them actually. 9 times more hull. 50% armor and shield hardening as well at Mark 3 is insane. And the invasion buffs, they don't go up as much, but it's like 5 every time up until cruisers where it goes up by 4 and battleships go up by 2. Still pretty good. Upkeep multiplier and alloy cost is the main issue, but that's what they're trying to combat. The cost in the upkeep is 16 times. So you're essentially combining 16 Corvettes into 1. Are these benefits worth the 16 times? Maybe? There'd have to be some testing, but initial reaction is it's close. There's also a reactor and computer limit, which I don't necessarily understand what the tier 3 and tier 4 and no limit means. You can only have a reactor tier 3 and computer tier 3. Ah, that nerfs it as well. Okay, interesting. Initial reactions is good, mainly just for lag, and I do like only having a couple of super strong fleets. And it kind of scales. Like early game, you're going to have the same amount of fleets as later game if you're growing in a linear way. It's a bit annoying you can't just upgrade the Corvettes though, but it does make sense, I guess. As shown in the above spreadsheet, this experiment also upgrades frigates a bit, granting them an inherent damage bonus to explosive weapons. Yeah, that sounds insane. That might need to be nerfed. Frigate meta. All of the larger ships move up 1 slot in the command limit and naval capacity usage as part of this change. I don't know what it means by command limit, as they all have the same command limit as previous. But yeah, the naval capacity goes up. I mean, 1 battleship Mark III is 64 naval capacity from 16. That's insane. All capital ships are treated as if they were statistically equivalent of Mark III. And full Empire ships as if they were a theoretical Mark IV. Oh, these are going to be really expensive then. Let's have a look at the table. So the Titan uses 24 command limit. Was it 24 before? I swear it was 16. Maybe I'm going crazy. It might have been 24. Naval capacity is 96 though, but it gets 5 times damage multiplier, 75,000 hull, 50% shield and armor hardening, 4 evasion, 36,000 alloys. For the hull as well. And the upkeep, 75 energy and 25 alloys. Insane. Then get the Titan Aura. I wonder if the auras will be buffed because they're a lot harder to build. Colossus has 100,000 hull, armor hardening, 50,000 alloys, and 150 energy and 50 alloy upkeep. And they can planet destruct if you didn't know. Juggernauts, again, 300,000 hull, same damage multiplier, 50,000 alloys again, same upkeep. And then they have 10 shipyards, no logistics upkeep, logistics and Juggernaut ores. I didn't really realize it did no logistic upkeep. Is that if you're in the same system? That's quite good, actually. Star Eater, 200 naval capacity. Also, did the Juggernaut and Colossus ever take naval capacity? Is that new? 500,000 hull. These are going to be insane just to run around and blow up galaxies. That's what I already did. And obviously it doesn't cost any alloys. And it has no upkeep. First draft numbers go, but yeah, they'll probably change that / balance it. But that they seem, if they're strong, I guess they could be worth a lot of alloys. These early draft numbers do make these capital ships essentially mega structures in investment. But currently ship cost modifiers are relatively common. Should the reckoning come for some of them, we'll revisit all of these costs. Titan and Juggernaut ores are also likely to end up playing a more impactful role. Hear me out. They should be mega structure investments. They're huge ships. Make them really powerful. I would prefer that, I think. Maybe you can have less Titans as well, because I don't know if the Titan limit will change, but make them insane. Make the auras insane. Like, they were important later game. Like, they are important, but they're not like, oh, you must build it. It is very likely that advanced hulls will end up gaining shield and armor multipliers if the experiment reaches the balancing stage. So they're not quite as hull loaded, and may also end up with reactor power multipliers, which could also potentially eventually replace the tier limits. So essentially, the bigger mark you have, the more armor, shield and reactors you get. I think that makes sense, because you don't want just massive hull stuff, because then it makes stuff that does more damage to hull the meta, so you need to be careful with that as well. And the tier limits is what we were seeing at reactor and computer limit before, so that might not exist. The current prototype does not include any changes to space fauna, bioships or crisis ships, play or endgame, but we've got ideas and we discussed internally about how we'd end up doing something similar to them. They basically want to see if it works for mechanical ships before applying the changes everywhere. I don't know how you do space fauna and bioships, especially if you can't upgrade them into them. Maybe bioships are allowed to upgrade into the different marks. Who knows? That's the mechanical difference. So how has it gone? The AI seem to handle the restrictions relatively well, though alloy budgets need to be adjusted significantly to get them building Titans and other capital ships, because they're so expensive. But as expected, the AI found an immediate workaround. Oh, they're clever. They've just been spamming dimensional fleets with astral planes. 1.9 million of them. 1,809 of them. I've since temporarily disabled dimensional fleet, and I'm running more overnights with the prototype. We'll be back for you. Dimensional fleet. We're also building way too many deep space citadels, so that goes on the list too. Just no fleets, only turtle. If they're too expensive, we all turtle. But then frigates seem really good, so they're really good against deep space citadels. If this change goes through, the meta is well and truly changing. After that change, Empires had around 37% with an asterisk. Alfred insists that I mention that this approximates 1 over E, and also that he called it. But yeah, they had 37% less individual ships as they'd fought, which is a good first step. I agree. That will hopefully help performance. But this current prototype is only a first step on this journey. It does not make any changes to some of the other design elements that we need to examine more closely, such as the ease of stacking cost, or upkeep modifiers, and other reductions, or non-linear production bonuses that scale out of control. Oh, they're coming for us. They are coming for us, and is currently wildly imbalanced. Naturally, any changes to any of those will cause this to need revisiting, but those will be dev diary material for another week, or 2, or 3. The reckoning must come for them as well. I like these changes. I do think I agree with the economy needs to be looked at, especially lots of these bonuses, the power creep we can all get to really quick. Also hurts the game. If you think back to 1.0, a full mineral deposit system was insane. Now that's just okay. We don't really care. It'll help a bit, I guess. You have arc furnaces, Dyson swarms, you have insane scaling productions. These jobs that are given per amount of pops just keep scaling as well, and we can really go crazy with pop growth and assembly. It all needs to be brought down, which then will mean these numbers need to be changed. What's next? For the foreseeable future, I expect our dev diaries will primarily consist of talking about the further experiments and continue patch notes for post-release support. See you next week. If you did enjoy this, make sure to subscribe to get next week's one. And if you want to watch me get 100% of achievements in Shadows of the Shroud, click this video here. I'll see you there.